Good evening, everybody. Well, I know you all have been waiting for us. I hope you know I'm a dreamer, and I'm sure so are you. बहुत लोग कहते हैं कि dreams are a waste of time. Do you think so? I don't think so. I think dreams are our realities in waiting. Trust me. And in dreams, we plant all those seeds that we want to for for our future. Dreams give us wings. Well, today I have this fabulous guest with me, Lopa Banerjee. She's an author, a poet, an editor. And I can tell you, I can go on and on. The list is endless. Trust me, you are going to actually see such a multifaceted personality. I welcome you on this show, Lopa.
Thank you, Shefali, so much. I have been such a great fan of your work. From the day I got to know about Storylines by Shefali Chopra, your YouTube channel, I've been watching most of your shows with so much of awe and admiration, and it has been such a privilege, such a wonderful honor to be a guest for today's show. And thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity and honor.
Thank you so much, Lopa, for making time, for coming for this show. Oh, before we could just start and go on, there's a big hello from Apsita
Hi.
Ganguly for you. So see,
Hi.
your fan following is
Upsita,
already
I
here,
think
Lopa.
Upsita Ganguly, right?
Yes,
Yeah, she's
Apsita
the one
Ganguly.
a fellow poet with whom I did the poetry film. She's my co-star.
Wow, how nice. Of course, we're going to hear about your journey.
Yeah.
We're all looking forward to hearing about it. But सच पूछो तो मुझे शुरुआत से शुरू करना है.
Okay.
Tell me, Lopa, where were you born?
Well, Shefali, I was born in a very small town, a sleepy small town, Barakpur, which also has a historical significance क्योंकि वो सिपाही म्यूटिनी के बारे में तो सब लोग जानते हैं.
Of course.
मंगल पांडे का वो जगह था बहुत. It's historically enriching, and as much as I know, my knowledge goes, Mahatma Gandhi has also visited this place. So we have Gandhi Ghat in his honor. And बहुत surreal experience था मेरा बचपन से, since my childhood. So I used to study in a school, modern school. Some of my childhood friends of that school are there in Facebook who might be watching. So
Okay.
for them, उनके याद ताज़ा करने के लिए, I was a very quiet and shy child, talkative only with selected set of friends. And modern school में जब जाती थी, पूरा रास्ता, like partly there was this entire cantonment region which
Okay.
had this British like colonial hangover flavor to it. ऊपर से the
Wow.
beauty of the river Ganges, Ganga,
My
मैया
God.
की जो मतलब जो उसकी जो essence है, I used to carry in my soul. So I have always been a river person. Recently, I've had the honor of writing a foreword for an anthology which is titled "Reverse the Rivers." एक दो साल पहले आया था, edited by Gitanjali Dilip. There, I mentioned specifically that I'm a river child. Though I didn't live close to the river, my entire journey of half an hour, 45 minutes, which I did with and it ended in the ghat by while journeying to my school and passing through that cantonment region in that sleepy little suburban town. It shaped my persona in some way. So there is this surreal flavor to my persona which came or originated from the river Ganga. Otherwise, it was a very humdrum childhood. We didn't have, the internet. We are all from the same generation. So we
We're
didn't
all
have
from that
internet.
generation.
लोड शेडिंग बहुत ज्यादा होती थे, मतलब पावर कट्स,
And
तो इसको पावर
तुम्हें
कट्स
याद
बोलते
है,
हैं.
लोपा, जब लाइट चली जाती थी तो हम लोग
लाइट चली
पक्षियां.
जाती है तो
Oh,
बुक्स
we used
से
to
बैठ
use
जाते
those.
थे.
Yes.
आई
We
वाज अ
used to
sucker
use.
for fiction and poetry. मतलब
Yeah.
पढ़ाई में जितना ध्यान था, आई यूज्ड टू बी मोर इंटरेस्टेड इन रीडिंग लाइक फिक्शनल बुक्स, नॉन फिक्शन, फिक्शन, जो भी मतलब मिल जाता था. Even and I should say I would was also deeply interested in reading newspapers, articles,
Wow.
magazines.
Now that's something very interesting because when you are
Yeah.
young, very few
Mhm.
children are interested in this, Lopa.
I know, somehow like the glossy look and feel, then the interviews that used to come up. Especially, I can tell you about the Telegraph magazine, of which I spoke some days back when we spoke over the phone. You
Yeah,
remember?
I
So,
remember.
every Sunday, Telegraph used to come in my house. I think my father had some kind of specific fascination for it because of the sports section. He was an avid
Okay.
sports buff. And
Mm-mm.
my mom made it a point that I read all the articles of the newspaper to improve and enhance my English writing skills. So that
Wow.
kind of laid my foundation. Because
Fantastic.
बचपन से मुझे लगता था कि मुझे लैंग्वेज के तरफ मेरी जो आकर्षण थी, दैट वाज वेरी
Yeah.
स्ट्रांग. सो वो करते करते क्या हो गया, मैथ्स थोड़ा ढीला हो गया. आई यूज्ड
Don't
टू
worry, Lopa.
मैथ्स.
बहुत लोगों का मैथ्स ढीला
Yeah.
है.
But
मेरा भी
वो
बहुत
शुरू
ढीला
से
है.
नहीं था, till like standard 6 or 7, I was doing like fairly well in mathematics. After that, when my interest started to turn towards literature and language, more of the subjects in which I would express my feelings and thoughts,
Right.
that got like that shaped my psyche in such a way that all the other things were lagging behind. So that
Wow.
I would say the kind of environment and the kind of influence I had, starting from the books which I used to read, like
Mm.
apart from my syllabus,
I
and
understand.
also the magazines, especially जो interviews आते थे of the
Hmm.
celebrities. I used to follow them like crazy. Film reviews, I remember the first time I read a film review was when I was in grade 6. And I
My
used to
God.
notice how like the structure was. And मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि काश मैं ऐसा लिख सकती हूँ, काश I can become a journalist. उस टाइम से मुझे वो क्रेज था that I have to do something creative. I used to do dance. I used to do art because मैं आर्ट क्लासेस जाती थी तब, डांस क्लासेस जाती थी, म्यूजिक क्लासेस. मुझे मतलब बहुत एम्फेसिस थे मेरे फैमिली में because
Mhm.
both my parents could sing. My father
Wow.
was a very good singer. So
Lopa,
classical.
you also sing pretty decent, yeah? You're very good, in fact. The other day I heard you humming. You were
बहुत
so good.
हमेशा विश एक्चुअली
Very
सीखने का
good.
ज्यादा मौका नहीं मिला बिकॉज आई वाज मोर इनटू डांस देन आर्ट. पेंटिंग क्लासेस जाती थी. फिर मतलब कितना कुछ करे, मतलब मुझे अपने आप पे तरस आता था कि इतना
I
कुछ
like that.
मुझे
Kitna kuch
मेरे
kare.
खुद
That's why I said
कर
when
दिया.
I introduced you, my God, she's a multifaceted personality. Matlab dancing, poetry, being an author. She also wanted to be a journalist. You were a
Yeah,
avid
was
reader.
I was
See,
a
what
freelance
I loved
journalist for
about
a long
one
time
little
actually.
point that I thought was a magical point was that you just mentioned. I'm just highlighting it, which is your environment that
Yeah,
made such a difference and influence. I mean, these two are such important things in one's life. It really makes a difference. When somebody shapes your life or just gives you a bit of support, it makes such a fantastic difference.
yeah.
Tell me, Lopa, who was that one person who gave you unconditional support?
See, if I speak about my family, first I would like to mention my mother, who has been such an unwavering source of support, inspiration, nourishment, everything, not only nourishment of my body, but the nourishment of my soul.
Wow.
Because I want to say, today she is no more. She passed away 9 years back, and this month is her birthday.
Okay.
So I would like to say, मेरी माँ actually जो मुझे दिया silently. She was a very quiet person, very shy, quiet person, but she always used to emphasize on educating myself, not only in terms of the syllabus or the books that my school prescribed for me, but reading outside of the syllabus. And un dino
Wow.
mein, Barakpur was not that advanced. You have to, uh, like, I must specifically mention that in the 1980s, 90s, when I was growing up, Barakpur was a very what can you say, mundane suburban place, and we didn't have that much of exposure. लेकिन मेरी माँ क्या करती थी, शी यूज्ड टू procure some books by telling her colleagues in school. She used to be a school teacher. So they got those books for me. Like I
Wow.
remember when I was a child, I was in my seventh or eighth grade. I got the autobiography of Rabindranath Tagore.
Okay.
My boyhood days, or like I forgot the title of the book, but it was my boyhood days or my childhood or something like that. I still have the book with me, but I
Okay.
read the chapters and I was so intrigued by how loneliness and seclusion gave birth to creativity.
Wow.
So that kind of spurred on my journey. I didn't understand the full implication when I was a child reading in school. But then when I made the transition from school to college, college to university, university to other degrees, then to my workplace, job, and
Mm.
stuff like that, especially after when I came to USA,
Yes.
the transitions, all the journeys, the milestones that have happened in their big or small way, those kind of made me realize that if you are lonely, if you have seclusion, then whether it is pain or whether you have the intensity within you which grows on you, the intensity
True.
of the pain, the loneliness, the seclusion, everything is actually intertwined. And gradually
Absolutely.
जाके
I
मुझे पता
completely
चला
agree
कि
with you.
यूनिवर्स के साथ हमारा रिलेशन क्या है, बहुत ही
Mm.
ग्रेजुअली, स्लोली, ऑर्गेनिकली। वो
Absolutely.
उसका जो सर्च था, मतलब मैं क्या हूँ यूनिवर्स के एस्पेक्ट में, व्हाट एम आई एम जस्ट अ टाइनी ब्लॉब,
You
but am I
respect.
only a tiny
Respect.
blob? Don't I have any possibility in myself? That kind of gave birth to my writing journey, you can say.
Wow. Lopa, I remember when I was speaking to you the other day, and I was catching on those little nuances, like when you were young. And I remember all of us, I think most of the girls, either they wanted to be a teacher
Yeah.
or they
Even
wanted
at
to be a
12, I
doctor.
wanted to be
I
too. Yeah.
remember when we
And
were young,
I am a
all
teacher,
those wardrobes, the
I
wooden
became a teacher.
wardrobes, we would get
Yeah.
chalks from the school and then
Yeah.
scribble on them and then clean them and wipe them. And I think we all did this. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm sure you also did that, Lopa.
I did the
Like
same.
wearing
I did the same with
saris,
friends.
or maybe the dupattas and wearing them like saris, behaving as if we are teachers and scolding everybody.
Yes,
I
yes.
think
I
these are the
didn't
kind of
scold though.
games we played.
I was on the contrary, I was so shy and timid. I thought people should scold me. Why should I scold people?
Okay,
I got a
how
total
interesting.
personality makeover when I grew up. In my
Of course,
childhood, I was very timid and very shy actually, and I
yeah,
lacked
things
self-esteem
happen in
and
life.
confidence.
Yes, things happen in life and they mold
Yeah,
you and they shape you. I think different circumstances get you to a different point in life, and that is what the real
exactly.
thing is about life. We all
Yeah,
grow like that. I think that is the beautiful thing of this journey called life.
beautiful.
Today,
Yeah.
you are a poet and a successful one too. And I remember you have also written so many books. I really want you to talk about your first book that you wrote.
Actually, I have these books in front of you, so I can show
Yes.
some of them. So my first book was in Kindle actually, and it was a translation of
Wow.
Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore's very famous story Noshtonir, which Satyajit Ray had made into the film Charulata.
Okay.
And
How
it
interesting.
received many awards. And from my childhood, I won't say early childhood, but there was a point in my when I was transitioning from school to college. During
Right.
those days, I got interested in translation.
Okay.
So
Yes, you spoke to me about it.
since I knew, I had the confidence that I know both the languages, Bengali and English well. I did it
Okay.
as a net practice. जो net practice होता है
Okay.
ना, मतलब थोड़े थोड़े पेजेस करके करती थी और फ्रेंड्स को सुनाती थी. They were my only audience, and they said, "Wow, you really have a flair for this." But I didn't think about publishing at that point. That happened much later
Much later. Yeah.
when I came to the US. But I want to specially talk about this book because solo print publication ke hisab se this book was my
What?
first.
Yes.
Thwarted Escape, An Immigrant's Wayward Journey, which actually was my master's thesis. Because when I came to the US after a couple of years, I got into a creative writing program that
Right.
perfectly suited my persona, my style of writing. And it was a creative nonfiction course. And at that time, I had already completed my master's in English, had done my journalism coursework from Bhavans, like it was a certificate course in journalism and mass communication, which I did around that time. And I was working as a freelance journalist. Then I was involved in a magazine, and I did like many things that was related to writing and publication. But book writing was something which I was didn't have much exposure in. All the writings that I did were mostly in online portals, then some in print magazines, some in print newspapers, something like of that sort. But when in USA, I came and first applied for a certificate course in advanced writing. There I met my American uh, mentor, whose name is Dr. John T. Price, and another mentor of mine, another very talented American woman, professor, Dr. Lisa Konop. So these two persons have been instrumental in shaping this book of mine, because
Wow.
I, under their tutelage, I learned the craft, the art of writing non-fiction from the point of view of memoir writing. So, how to
Absolutely.
shape your memoir, how to bring a literary side to it, and how to brush up your memoir to universalize it. I learned from them, and I learned by reading various authors, various contemporary American authors, classic American authors, including Maya Angelou, Jamaica Kincaid, then lots of others, Joan Didion. And I'm talking about women authors because they have principally inspired me with their journeys. So, reading all of them, and also some male authors, reading them, interviewing one very important author at that time, Patricia McCormick, who had written a book, Sold, at that time, which was about girl trafficking in India. She had actually made it a point to visit India, to visit Calcutta, Kolkata, and to find out about a racket involved in child trafficking. So these kind of things were those were the things which I was exposed to at that time. It was, I tell you, the year, the time frame was 2008, when my first daughter was born, to 2012-13. That was the very fecund period when I was being exposed to all these authors, their journeys, their writing, and the way our classroom, like in our classroom, the director of our program, my professors, my mentors, used to talk about the academic context. And from those stories, those personal stories, my takeaways, they kind of shaped my persona in such a way that I had sleepless nights, and I wanted to write my own journey by delving into these journeys. So these are partly these
Lopa,
from prompts.
Lopa, what you just
Mhm.
mentioned is a very important point that people might miss. I need to really, actually give it a pause and think about it. And I want other people to think about it. Lopa said a very beautiful thing, which is she says, I didn't want to sleep. I had
Yeah.
sleepless nights. So this is what happens when you are faced with your own passion. When you're passionate
Yeah.
about something, that's exactly what happens to you. I mean, this is a very important thing for so many people out there. Please do things that keep you alive. Please do things that don't let you sleep. And what is
मुझे बहुत
important is
गालियाँ
you
भी
must
पड़ती
sleep.
थी ये स्लीपलेस नाइट्स के लिए।
Yeah,
अभी अभी
yeah,
भी पड़ते हैं। You know,
absolutely. And
people,
we have to
all
have
my
that kind
friends
of
who
an
care about me
environment.
because I have high blood pressure, they tell me, why don't you go to sleep early? But I can't. I can't resist the temptation of giving vent to my thoughts whenever I feel like. It's not every day, but whenever I
It's
feel
very
like, whenever I
important.
have this urge, I have to put it down on paper. Because I, my
And
favorite quote has been of Maya Angelou.
another thing that you
Yeah,
mentioned was your fantastic mentors. I think
yeah,
it's very important for people to have mentors. It's
Yeah.
also very important for people to look at those people who are offering them guidance. That's very important. And of course, your habit of reading everything that came across,
Yes.
whatever you came across, is a very brilliant thing, because what happens is when you're exposed to a lot of reading, your mind opens, and you
Exactly.
also end
Horizons
up
open.
thinking what's the kind of style that you want to follow.
Hmm.
That's very important. I think that's a very big lesson
And
for
you
so
know,
many people.
about mentors, I want to again add, it will be gross injustice if I don't tell the name of another mentor, um, Manik Chatterjee, who was my first English teacher while in my school. I used to go to a very humble tutorial service that he used to run. It was absolutely like his own brainchild kind of thing. वो तब उस जमाने में जो होते हैं ना प्राइवेट ट्यूटर्स जो होते थे, he was a school
I,
teacher and he used to give private offer private tutoring services, and I
okay.
learned so much, not only from of English literature, Bengali literature. He used to teach so passionately, the poems, epics, dramas, everything, and the nuances which came in his voice. I learned recitation from him, not only
Wow.
reading and writing, but also the way that you pronounce each and every word, giving emphasis to the thought behind sentences, lines. That I learned from him. Then my professor of English at Calcutta University, I'm indebted to her, Dr. Shangjukta Dasgupta. She is a Fulbright scholar. And I'm so fortunate, in each book of mine, she writes a foreword.
How
I
lovely.
wasn't fortunate enough to be a first grade student when I was back studying back then, because I was somewhat lost in between the 250 students. But now the connection that we have forged after 16, 17 years, that's kind of phenomenal. And the support that I get from
Wow.
ma'am, all of
That's
these
so
keep me going.
fantastic. You know, Lopa, I heard
Mhm.
about your books. I also need to know about your poetry. And I also want to know about that poetry film that you got involved in, which actually won a lot of awards. I need to know about
Okay, so first coming to my poetry, poetry has been my first love, because matlab, it not only originated from pleasure, but it also originated from pain, seclusion. Whenever I have lost a loved one, I have written a poem. Whenever I felt like dedicating something to somebody, poetry came naturally to me. Whenever I have fallen in love, I have written poetry. Whenever I have fallen out of love, I have written poetry. So, in every emotion, in every mundane thing, whenever I have cooked something which I have liked, I have written a poem on that. Whenever I have eaten something, maybe at home or in a restaurant, I have written a poem. So, poetry is not something academic, actually, in my according to my belief. It is
that.
something which is actually a window through which you see the world. And isn't this entire world poetry in motion? मतलब जिस तरह
Absolutely.
से सुबह को सूरज उठता है, जिस तरह से सारी दिशा में मतलब वो लाइट फैल जाता है, उसका किरण फैल जाता है चारों ओर. So not many people know that I used to write first in Bengali, and then I used to do some Hindi poetry as well, infusing some
Wow.
Urdu here and there.
Arey wow.
No, I didn't formally read. All my university and college friends know. Mostly my university friends, they used to ask me, "Don't you write in Urdu or Hindi anymore?" I said, मतलब वो English जब से मैंने लिखना मतलब formally शुरू किया है, it kind of got sidelined, but it is there inside me, and I simultaneously write in Bengali and English these days. Though Bengali I haven't published as much as I would wish to, because उसके बाद मैं यूएसए चली आई, तो यूएसए में द एक्सेप्टेड लैंग्वेज, द मोस्ट इंक्लूसिव लैंग्वेज इज इंग्लिश.
Of
So in
course.
order to get more acceptance, in order to get more global readers, the medium of writing that I chose was English. But I always keep going back to my first love, which is Bengali poetry, and the Bengali
Yeah, it's
poets
very important to go back
influenced
to
me a
your
lot.
roots.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I
roots.
think going
Yes.
back to roots is very important. I think there is some kind of soul connect that you have with
Soul
your own
connect.
language,
Yes.
wherever you may
It's the
go.
same way of
Wherever you may
storytelling
go.
that the poetry film happened. You asked me about the poetry film, so a little bit about its journey. there are three poets involved in it: myself, Lopa Banerjee, Ipshita Ganguly, who was just there to say hi.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
she writes poetry beautifully, and another beautiful poet, Gopa Bhattacharya. So three of
Okay.
us collaborated because we were giving poetry readings a lot. At that time, we thought, why don't we do it in a video format, in an audio visual format, to get more audience involved in it? क्योंकि जो होता है ना, जब
Wow.
हम लोग पढ़ते हैं तो actually it doesn't give that much of life to it. It somewhat looks
Of
drab,
course.
no matter
Of
how
course.
well we read. So we were fortunate to find Shubhayu Bhattacharya, who incidentally is again Gopa Bhattacharya's husband. He was
Okay.
a director. He was directing music videos and certain short films at that time. And he took up the project. We were very fortunate because his wife was in it. He took up the project and he actually instructed us to do it in a storytelling format. Then what happened? We wrote our own short stories, which became
Again.
part of the, like, parts of it were not everything entirely, parts of it was used in the film. तुम जब film देखोगे तब देखोगे it is a journey of three girls who are actually friends. Pragya, played by Ipshita, Prakriti, played by me, and Poroma, played by Gopa, who are unique, different personalities, but somewhere their journeys intersect and merge with each other.
Wow.
And there Kolkata is the fourth woman. Kolkata is treated
Wow.
as a woman there, and Kolkata joins the three friends. तो उसमें शॉर्ट स्टोरीज भी है, पोएट्री भी है, लेकिन शॉर्ट स्टोरीज देयर इन द स्टाइल, and then the script has been written by Aparna Ghosh, and following the messages of our stories and our poems. And music बहुत खूबसूरत है. I want you to watch the film, and
I
we
would
don't
love
have a
to see
list.
that film. I would
Yeah, it's
love
on
to see that
YouTube.
film.
We were fortunate to have a beautiful, beautiful premiere just before the pandemic hit in
Oh my God.
December 2019 in ICCR, Kolkata. And there were 150 people, kind of approximately, from different industries, and they absolutely loved the treatment of the film. And then in in Irvine, near Los Angeles, there was a festival, Silent River Film Festival, which is founded by one of our poet friends. She's a poet and filmmaker, Kalpana Singh Chitnis. She actually accepted the film, and we received the certificate of appreciation from that festival. And then some more festivals followed, and we were lucky, fortunate to have acceptance over there. So that was basically the
Lovely.
story. The film is still there on YouTube, and it's still being showcased even after 3 years.
I would love to see it, Lopa, because
Yeah, I
you
gave
know
you
that I
the
was
link.
busy.
So
I was a little tied up and I could not get to
yeah,
see the film, but
see
I'll
it, just see
definitely
it
watch
in
the
your
film.
leisure time. You're going to love it.
I'm sure I will. I'm sure I will. We spoke about books, we spoke about your poetry, and now I know that you have also, teaching creative writing in the
Yeah,
uni, and you edit a lot. You're an editor.
I'm a professional editor. Yes.
Yes. So, how did you get into editing, Lopa?
Editing actually happened, that's another interesting story. Editing happened before my writing, not before my writing, but before publishing my solo book. Because the
Okay.
first book that came out with me as a co-editor along with Riti Chatterjee Bose, she's also a writer and an artist in her own right. So the year was 2015, and Riti was was the founder of the blog Incredible Women of India. So then I was invited to be a guest there, just जैसे कि तुमने मुझे invite किया. That was an initiative of inviting different women for interviews, different women from different walks of life, to share their journeys. And I get to meet Riti from that platform. Though we are fellow Barakpurians, Riti is also a Barakpurian. But at that time, I didn't know her. This is serendipity. So a lot of
Okay.
things that happened in my life is pure serendipity. I didn't plan it. It just happened like that. So मतलब बात करते करते हम लोग ने सोचा that why do we just keep our journey limited to a blog, because the blog was appreciated a lot and Riti did a lot of work for that blog. And then
Okay.
we tried to go to the next level, is to invite short story submissions from women talking about
Okay.
ordinary women the phenomenal quality of their ordinary lives. That
Wow.
brought us close to the theme of our book, Defiant Dreams, Tales of Everyday Divas. It became a sensation, actually. It became an
Okay.
Amazon bestseller, and then it was shortlisted for Oprah Winfrey's book club too in Goodreads. That the year was 2015, when we towards the end of 2015 it was released. In 2016 the book saw a lot of success, and after that I became a resident editor in many places, because people knew that I was a co-editor of this project, and I also edited certain magazines, literary journals here and there. So the name was kind of getting out. And then I was approached for these kinds of projects. But yes, professional content editing came a little later. In 2017, when I was involved with Blue Pencil, another very favorite venue of mine, its founder is Antara Nanda Mandal, and she's a very creative, dynamic, enterprising lady. And it has been a privilege getting associated with her. And then we got to know about each other, and then we started our journey from there. So now
Mm.
the content that comes to us is basically through Antara, and I'm hired as a resident editor because I have a long-standing association with her. So I get the projects through her, and also, yeah, outside of Blue Pencil, I get projects. That happens mainly because people know that apart from being an author, I'm a teacher of writing. So I'm a teacher of literature and writing. I teach non-credit courses in colleges, in universities, some certificate courses in universities in USA. So I get a lot of opportunities and offers. I cannot say yes to everybody, but the books that I find merits in, I take up those projects and I kind of try to fine tune and polish them to the best of my capabilities.
Well, I'm glad you do that because, yeah, it's not possible to say yes to everybody
Everybody.
in life, anyhow.
Yeah, I keep getting
It's not
requests, but
possible.
I can't. Yeah, because I do up. I actually my day job is in an academic assistance center of a local college, of a community college, where I have recently joined as a consultant tutor to and there I kind of mentor students of all disciplines, whether it is psychology or journalism or like business administration, like all of them, they come for their assignments to show me their assignments, and I tell them, as kind of a doctor who finds the disease of a patient, I kind of try to diagnose what is the problem in the assignment, in the text, and I try to, there are other consultants along with me working in the same center. So we actually speak, our day job, my day job is actually speaking to students of all disciplines, mentoring them in their process of like the submission of their papers. Sometimes
Lovely.
professors do come also, but mostly
Wow.
students, yes.
That's incredible, Lopa. I mean, after hearing about your poetry and being an author and doing your edit stuff, I really want you to read one of your poems. Anything that's very close to your heart.
Okay. So let me read out like something which is very, very close to my heart. Nothing can be closer to my heart than Thwarted Escape. Though it is a memoir, there's some poetry here and there. But it's
Please read
like
it.
the kind of stuff that I have written here, that is 10 years back me. That's not the recent me. But in spite of that, it is very close to my heart. So I would read out an excerpt from this book, which like belongs to a very personal experience of my childhood, and that is poetic in nature. So I will just read out in
Wow.
2 minutes a short excerpt from that. So
Please, please, Lopa.
the name of the chapter is Rainy Sojourns, a Rendezvous. This is basically, I tell you, I actually go back to my 5-year-old self, converse with my adult voice with my child-year-old self when I had my first brush with death. मतलब छोटी सी उम्र में जब मैंने देखा कि मेरे my grandfather, he was a blind man, he was a blind professor of Sanskrit, and I used to see him bedridden all the time. So मेरे मन में जो प्रतिक्रिया हुआ उसके बारे में I kind of, this is a questioning back and forth of the adult self and the 5-year-old self. And that day I remember distinctly, it was raining a lot. So that kind of metaphorical journey of mine. In my mind, I counted the raindrops. I could touch, smell, taste the midnight rain that slipped into my fingers. I was trying to sleep, but sleep eluded me. So, this was the first downpour that you can remember. So, this is the adult self asking. It was midnight rain for sure, and I heard the husky crushing sound of the wind and water lashing against the ceiling, the roof, the canopy of the trees. They had decorated him with sandalwood paste, milk white garlands, and taken his old fragile body to a nearby funeral home for his last rites. For the first time, I had tried to touch the mystery of death by poking his blind eyelids. So, my grandfather had glaucoma and he had lost his eyesight due to that. The wind was blowing so hard it almost crushed my breath. The ladies of the house hastily dressed him up for his last journey as the raindrops started pouring in the huge veranda where all our cousins, uncles, aunts, and neighbors assembled to witness another loss of life and, according to their own cherished Hindu faith, the beginning of another. The male neighbors, my father, uncles, and cousins, scurried all the way to the funeral home bearing the bed, carrying the dead old man as the raindrops drenched their tensed skins. So, this was your first image of death as a child? Did you understand death being that young? My fifth birthday was just around the corner. I was the midnight's child born in the August rain. It was dark and drizzling the whole day, and I was at my maternal grandparents' home, savoring mango pickles and watching out for signs of a hailstorm with a herd of unruly cousins. One of my older cousins came to pick me up and take me to our old ancestral home in his bicycle. Hurry up, I came to take you home. Dadu is no more. He hushed. He uttered in a hushed, somber tone, raindrops trickling from his drenched shirt and scandals. He wiped the wet bicycle carefully with a stained towel as I got myself seated in it, trudging our way past the moist, overflowing fields, the wet, rusty railway tracks that smelt of the August rain. My tiny body weary of carefree playing with cousins in the sheer joy of a rainy holiday, my stomach craving the salty yellow khichdi and fried eggs, reached a universe of sudden mourning and unexplained loss. But sorry, you did not understand death and the mourning that followed. It was all a haze of stupor that embraced your senses while you witnessed dying. So there is in this text, this is the small portion. In this essay, actually, I go back and forth, like going back to my 5-year-old self, again coming back to my adult self, questioning and probing. And what are the answers that come out of it? That forms the core of thoughts of the essay.
Beautiful, beautiful, Lopa.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I was actually transformed to a different world altogether. You know,
Thank
I realized, like what you said earlier, is that, there is sheer poetry around us, and which is
Exactly. We
true.
only have to
In my
recognize it.
life, yeah, we
Yeah.
just have to recognize that. I remember I used to love this particular poem by Erin Hansen. I'm sure you would have heard it. I'd like to rant it too. It's
Yeah.
called Not. In our mind we think so much and we are obsessed with, oh, we are this, we are not this.
Yeah.
This is the way I'm supposed to behave, this is the
And we
way I'm
put
not
ourselves
supposed
in
to behave.
boxes, which we
we
shouldn't
put
be
yeah
doing.
we
Yeah.
keep putting ourselves in those boxes. I mean,
Yeah.
why can't we for once behave as if there is no box? So here I'd
Exactly.
like to you know read this poem, or to just whatever lines I
Yeah.
remember,
Please
I'll
share.
just
Please share.
it said, Not by Erin Hansen. You're not your age, nor the size of the clothes you wear. You're not
Exactly.
a weight, or the clothes of, or the color of your hair. You're not your name or the dimples in your cheeks. You're all the books that you read and all the
Exactly.
words you speak.
Speak. Yes.
You are your croaky morning voice and the
Yes.
smiles you try to hide. You're the sweetest in your laughter and every tear. you have cried.
Right.
The
Yes.
songs you sing so loudly when you know you're all alone. You are the
Mhm.
places that you've been to and the
Yeah.
one that you call home. You're the things
Exactly.
that you believe in and the people that you love. You're the
Exactly.
photos in your bedroom. You're the photos in your bedroom and the future you dream of. You're made of so much beauty. You are made of so much
So much
beauty, but
beauty.
it seems that you forgot when you decided that you were defined by all the things you are not. So
Exactly.
I
How powerful
really
lines.
think,
What powerful lines.
yeah, I really think, why do we put ourselves in those boxes? I mean, excuse me, but actually, life is to be lived, to go outside
Exactly.
the box.
To live
We
outside the
tame our
box.
mind.
Yes.
We are the ones who tame our mind. Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is something we cannot do. So it's all
Yeah.
here.
We
It's all
actually
here.
get ourselves carried by the parameters that society sets for you. But why do you listen to like the parameters set by society? You are a tiny universe in yourself. This I have believed
Absolutely.
throughout my life. All the things that I have done till now bear testimony to the fact that I have thought of myself as a tiny universe in myself. I might have limited capabilities, but with that kind of limited capability, I am the you own a unique person. The private, though I'm private, I'm also universal in the same breath. So, whatever I have done in life, not only in terms of my writing, but whatever fields I've explored is based on this belief only. And also in this
It's
connection,
very
since you read these powerful lines, I would also like to share one brilliant quote by Maya Angelou, which I've carried throughout my life with me.
please,
There
please do.
is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside
Your
you.
story.
जो
Absolutely. And that's a
जुबान,
fact.
एवरी स्टोरी का एक अलग सा जुबान होता है. अगर तुम
Exactly.
उसको सवारोगे नहीं, अगर तुम उसको सज धज के पेश नहीं करोगे, अंदर ही अंदर घुट घुट के मर जाओगे. और वो वैसे दम तोड़ने में कोई डिग्निटी नहीं है. There's no dignity
We don't
in dying.
realize, we don't realize
We
how
don't
we
realize that.
sometimes
Yeah,
kill our own self. And
exactly.
this I have
Yeah,
been going on telling people whenever I can, please live a life that you want to live. Because at the end
exactly.
of the day, it is your
Because
life.
society
You
will not
cannot,
define you. At the end of the
yes,
day, you will define yourself, and your work will actually spell out a legacy for the future generation too. It's not only you and you alone. You are part of a universe which you are leaving behind for others to imbibe and learn.
yes, of course. And we want to leave that kind of a legacy for our children, for the future
Exactly.
generation to come,
Yeah,
that they see that whatever we did or what we, it was actually a true reflection of our own selves or
exactly. Yes.
something that we enjoyed to do. And we were not living somebody else's dream and calling it our own life.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you cannot please anyone.
Agree. You cannot
It's
please
not
everyone.
possible.
No. And I have
You
stopped.
cannot.
After the age of 40, I stopped because I've crossed 40. So after the age of 40, I have stopped wondering or even bothering what people think about me. What I think
So I
about
think
myself, how I define myself every day.
so I think Lopa,
That is important.
after 40 that box opens, huh?
Yes, it opened much before, but I became more brave to come out with this startling truth that I don't need the validation of anybody for that matter.
Yeah, I
I
think
only
something
need the
happens to
validation of
you after
myself.
40. Yes,
Yeah,
I think so too. I think so too. I think you want to be more authentic to your own self. That is important.
exactly. Yeah, authentic to myself. That is the key word actually. And
Yeah,
therein comes the
that's
untold stories that I want to tell the world. If I die without telling those stories, तो मुझे मर के भी चैन नहीं आएगा. So I have to somewhere in somewhat format, either in the format of storytelling, theater, music, in whichever format you want to, you have to vent out those stories and present them to the world. No matter, like,
who would
if
know this
there are
better?
two or five people
Who?
to read, not a problem, just carry on, telling your stories to the world. And your journey
That's
is
why
important, not the destination. The
it's
journey is
never.
important.
Absolutely. As a storyteller, I always tell people that we all are stories at the end of the day. We are
Exactly.
stories. We carry a story in our heart and we do become a story. So, stories is all we have to share with each other. And from one story, somebody else can learn a thing or
Exactly.
two. And that's what we want to leave for our friends, for our families, for
Especially
generations
for
to
our
come ahead.
children. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Lopa, now pretty soon we are about to end the session. So
Yeah.
before we end the session, I would really want you to, because I know you have always loved ghazals and poetry, and you have enjoyed and you still are enjoying living in this blissful state of being creative. I would want you to maybe do us a nice ghazal or do us a little song or something that you would like to share with everybody.
Okay. So I would like to read out a few lines from a poem which is my tribute to Gulzar Saab and
Okay.
Ijazat, which was first
Sure.
published in Review. And I might hum a line or two from Mera Kuch Saman, which is, and people
Ay,
know me
wow.
for
That's
Mera
my
Kuch Saman
favorite.
because
That's my
I
favorite.
sang that a lot in my friend, like the friends' gatherings and parties. So they, whenever they see me, they remember Mera Kuch Saman. I don't know, it's weird. The connection is weird, but they somehow
तो
make it.
आज आज थोड़ा सा चेंज है. आवाज लोपा की है मगर जज्बात मेरे हैं.
Just
मेरा
that,
कुछ
yeah.
सामान.
So a few lines from there. From and the poem is named "An Ode to Ijazat, the Final Approval." So I'm reading in between a few lines from the poem, starting with the song. Lines from the song. एक अकेली छतरी में जब आधे आधे भीग रहे थे, एक अकेली छतरी में जब आधे आधे भीग रहे थे, आधे सूखे आधे गीले, सूखा तो मैं ले आई थी, ओ गिला मन शायद बिस्तर के पास पड़ा था, गिला मन शायद बिस्तर के पास पड़ा था, वो भिजवा दो मेरा वो सामान लौटा दो, वो भिजवा दो मेरा वो सामान लौटा दो. The raindrops. The raindrops pelting on the window where she stood, forlorn, dreamy still, asking you to return the cloudbursts of your memories in spurts, were mine too. Yes, the raindrops were mine too. The clouds which I stared at like forbidden turrets of your leftover dreams, overlooking our half baked love songs, yawning with an emptiness as I rinsed off their remnants from our rooms, our plates, our cups and dishes, our breaths, intertwined yet not whole. I did look for you and longed to hear the syrupy strains of those lovelorn lyrics which you had once hummed to me. I did look in the hand delivered letters of the postman for the silhouettes of those sullied memories and burnt out poems, which never reached me as I settled down, colder, less rippling, and more permissive in a new mooring. Forgive me today as I dried off your wet hairs, drenched in our once familiar raindrops in an unfamiliar station, waking up to dig in the dust of our forgotten, forsaken days, waking up to your frost bitten face, bursting wide, crooning in the smoked mirror of this tiny, clumsy waiting room. Forgive me. Forgive me, like Maya, the sad wandering girl who gagged herself and was washed away in the crossroads of your tyrannical memories. The sky, drunk, sunken, taking in both of our teary trails and crackling. Forgive me today as I seek your approval for one last time to drive off to my moorings now, as you will drive off to your own. The smudged lines of our story hanging loose, askance, in this ground zero where we had stumbled upon and burnt. एक अकेली छतरी में जब आंधे आंधे भीग रहे थे, आंधे सूखे आंधे गीले, सूखा तो मैं ले आई थी, मेरा कुछ सामान तुम्हारे पास पड़ा है. Thank you. This is from
Wow,
my book
Lopa,
Woman and
that
Her
was
Muse.
beautiful, Lopa. That was so beautiful. Can't even tell
Thank you
you
so much.
how
This
beautiful.
is all because of
This means
Gulzar ji. He had taught us
this
so
is
much,
he
right?
did. I actually
Yeah.
he's all time my favorite as well. Mirza Ghalib, Gulzar.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
Shahid
enjoyed
Ludhianvi was
poetry.
also a personal favorite.
Sahil
And I
Ludhianvi,
used
yes.
to follow those lyrics so closely. Unconsciously, they became a part of my heartbeat, a part of my existence. Though the medium of writing I do is in English, but I always follow those emotions very closely, which has shaped my
Wow,
psyche in so many unthinkable ways.
wow. I think we don't realize in life how people can impact somebody
Yes,
else's life. Little
exactly.
impacts. We always think, oh my God, something big will happen. No, it's not like that. Little things, like suppose I'm drinking out of this mug, and maybe it's gifted to me by someone. So there is a certain impact. When I think of a song that you are humming, it makes me
Yeah,
think of a friend.
yeah,
Some kind of scenery that you're enjoying, and then you feel, oh my God, I really wish he or she was here. They would have
yeah.
enjoyed it too. So I think we don't realize that we do leave imprints in different ways in this
Ways. Yeah.
lifetime.
Somewhere, somehow, you are inspiring somebody, and
Yes, we
down
are
the
all
road,
inspiring
down
someone
the
or
road,
the
you get
other.
to know that. And
Yes,
sometimes you don't even get to know that. It's such an
yes,
subconscious organic process. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Lopa,
Thank
for
you so
making
much, Shefali,
this
for this
meeting a
wonderful
beautiful
opportunity,
one.
for being
And
this lovely host.
I'm sure so many people will hear you out later.
Thank you.
And this story will travel far and wide. And it's such a beautiful thing that you shared with all of us here.
It
Beautiful,
was my honor
incredible
and
journey.
privilege.
And
Thank
at such a young age, you have achieved so much. And I really wish you abundance from the bottom of my heart. And I really wish that one day when I see you, I'm going to get all those books from you, and they're going to be personally signed by
It's
you
my pleasure,
for
actually.
me. And
All
they're going
these books,
to,
actually, I want to, before I end, I want the viewers to know that all of these books are available in Amazon,
yeah.
most of them in Flipkart and other places, some of them in bookstores in Calcutta. And what else? Like, there are, like, if you go to Google and search for my blog and all my published writings online, just type Lopa Banerjee author, you'll get to see all of those
So
writings, which
by
I've
now
been
we have all
doing for all these
understood this.
years.
We are very lucky to have Lopa
Thank you.
Banerjee with us. And please go buy those books, read them, and I think enjoy her blogs, because that's exactly what I'm going to do with a nice cup of coffee. I'm going to enjoy watching her movie,
Thank
reading
you.
her
You must,
blog.
and you must tell me how you felt about it.
I'm definitely going to tell you. So thank you everybody
Thank you.
for this session, and thank you, Lopa,
Thank
for
you.
being here. Bye for now. And before I say bye to my friends who are watching me, फिर मिलेंगे with a new mehman, a new guest super soon. Take care.